Hey guys, it's Salman Qureshi. You're listening to the Expat Brat podcast. What's going on? Shout out to all the people who are doing some great stuff out there. That's such a vague shout out. I didn't think this one through. I sat there and went, I'd like to say something positive, and then I just became like a motivational speaker where you say something so vague that it sounds nice and you want to do it, but when you pause, you're just like, what does that even mean? Or like, you could go up and say stuff like, when I was a kid, I had a tough life, and I didn't know what I was going to be, who I was going to be. And then this incident, you got to like think of an incident, right? Just make up one. And you use that and you go, and then, that's the day I realized what I had to do, and then got on this path where I worked really hard, the whole Rocky spiel, and then boom, you're rich and successful. At least in front of the people, you pretend to do that, yeah? I don't know how to do that, man. I think when people are young, I don't know who these kids are. Who's realizing stuff when they're 10, 15 years old, right? I still don't know what I want to be. And I have to hear stories about someone having this moment in their life, and it's so clear. I don't know if it's just my memory. I think my voice is going because I've had like work nonstop, like just speaking for like almost 10 days now, man, nonstop, yeah. And I'm still doing this today. I just thought, all right, let's give my voice one last push. And so if my voice completely trails off while I'm talking, it's because of this. It's not because I've died. Hopefully, it's not because of that. In which case, you wouldn't be listening to the episode. It's just my voice has died at some point. So I don't know how long this episode's gonna last. You'll I should probably edit this off of me clearing my throat. You remember back in the day? Well, I'm talking about back in the day. I'm talking about two years ago when even just clearing your throat in front of people started sounding scary, and you didn't want people to think you had COVID. And I have a chronic cough, and I kept always having to apologize. Go, oh, no, it's not COVID. I swear to God, it's not COVID. I just have a regular cough, and so on and so forth. Oh wow, my brain's working overtime. Where was I? I was talking about motivational. Yeah, young people, right? Or even like just my general memory is probably worse than other people's. I get it, but I still like sometimes people remember this incident so well, and they like mark out every little detail. I think some of it is just made up, right? Isn't that what your brain does? It just makes up stuff when it doesn't know. It just like fills in the colors from its own side. Like you were wearing this navy suit that was like well cut, and your hair looked perfect, and you had freshly shaved, so your skin was like glistening, and and then someone shows you this photo from that day, and you're just like, you look like you've worn your dad's suit, and it's it's just a terrible photo, and you're like, that's not the same day. That couldn't be the same day. So your memory's destroyed. Anyway, people remember stuff, and then they go, that thing changed my mind. I don't think one incident really does it, right? Like how many times have I sat there and gone, after overeating, just gone there, sat there and gone, never again. All right, this will never happen again. I don't care how good the food is. I don't care how hungry I am. Next time I am going to stop, and I'm not going to overeat so I don't put on weight and start losing the weight I've been talking about for a gazillion years now, right? You think that, and then the next day, literally the next day. All right, I've had dinners like that, and I've had big breakfasts followed up by just going, no, never again. And so, I don't know, like when people go, and after that incident, I was never the same. I seriously, I don't believe it. Like, I just think it's a bunch of times you keep going, and then you have no choice left, or you have some kind of like heavier like support done, like your parents basically beat the hell out of you, and then for like a few months, and so they beat the thing out. They beat the thing out of you, right? That's how I imagine it to be. But I hope, other than that, you guys are having a great time, a great week. Well, it's the weekend, technically. Not technically. It is the weekend. It is the weekend, and I hope you had a great weekend plan. I thought it was getting cooler out here in Dubai, and now suddenly it's like spiked up a little bit. It's better than before, and we're in October. You know what October means? It means Halloween. It means you're going to get a lot of companies who are tone deaf about breast cancer. So they'll use the color pink in everything and do giveaways and make this like fun month instead of like raising awareness about the actual reason. Yeah. And I keep saying, oh my God, this is such a bad habit. You probably caught it. I keep saying breast awareness instead of breast cancer awareness. It's I'm not trying to get people to be aware of breasts. Like, hey, stop. Can you see those two things? Those are breasts. That would be an interesting month, though. A few of the countries would ban that out, right? Of course, and I think they'd be right to do it this time. Breast cancer awareness. That's not a laughing matter. Breast awareness would be a laughing matter. So, yeah, you've got that. You got Halloween, so it's like pink and then orange. It's all these colors happening in my head. And the football World Cup, guys. I'm super excited about it. I'm not a huge football fan, like I've said a few times, but the World Cup really gets me. I'm one of those people that true football fans hate. They go, oh my God, he doesn't know anything about these players or the game, and he's going to sit there and comment and suggest stuff and make judgments, and they hate it. And so I do it more. Like, I just, I love instigating them a little bit. So I'm just going to throw stuff out there. Like, I think if they had not done that half side, and they're like, what do you mean half side? When the guy goes ahead with the before the ball does, and they're like, you mean offside? I'm like, yeah, isn't it all the same? Just throw that kind of stuff out there. Really get them angry and pissy. Okay, that's if you're one of my kind. But it's happening in Qatar, and people are getting angry about it again. The people online and some brands. I think it was Denmark's apparel supplier who's toned down the colors and claimed, we're doing it because we stand against the atrocities that happen in Qatar, the human rights stuff. And in some ways it's admirable, but in some ways I'm also like, aren't like around where you guys live, you guys slaughter whales like in huge numbers? Like, I don't know. Although in fairness, they're talking about human rights in Qatar. So I don't know. It's so judgmental. What do you do? If you look at America's record, that means you shouldn't be like doing anything with the U.S. Seriously. Like if you looked at it as a person, as a really old person throughout its history, you'd have to be like, okay, all right, man, you're a troubled figure. Okay. The UK too, same shit, right? The Queen's dead, but the stolen jewelry hasn't been returned. Just saying, just putting it out there. Okay. And yeah, so, I'm excited. I had plans with my friends to go down to Qatar, and then they had this really strict way of getting tickets. It was all sold out, and you could only bid for it, blah, blah, blah. And you can't just fly into the country if you don't have stadium tickets. So you can't like visit the country and watch it at a restaurant, a bar, or just hang about the stadium or outside. They apparently haven't done it. So I was planning to drive through. It would have been such a kick-ass journey. But here we are. I'm going to have to watch it on television at home. And it's crazy that Qatar wouldn't use this to open tourism up. So on a serious note, I think that would mean a lot of people will come to Dubai and kind of go back and forth or use it as part of their holiday. Because if you're in the area, why wouldn't you come and see like this country, right? You're right next door. It's the chance you've flown across the world. You'd probably do Dubai, which means great for Dubai's economy and for their hotels and whatnot. But it also means it's going to get busy in here. I might be cranky about that. You'll find out in the following episodes how cranky I get about it. If it increases traffic and stuff, I get really annoyed, man. But then I don't have an 8 to 5, so who knows? Who knows, right? Man, I gotta talk, like, personal note as well. There's something I'm really happy about, but you guys might not know the background for it. You guys know I have a wife and a kid. My kid's turning 4 end of November, and one of the things I haven't talked publicly really about is that that my son was diagnosed with autism. All right, and so the thing is, when you find out as a parent, when you start seeing the signs, you start worrying about it, and you start kind of going into denial, and or you're just confused. And people give you advice either way. They're like, get some screening done, but I think it's fine. My kid spoke late, and so on and so forth. They'll tell you stuff like that, and we kind of held on for a little bit because we were like, okay, it was the lockdown. He was on the iPad quite a bit. It slowed down his growth or something. Let's just wait it out. He's not speaking enough. But then we saw a couple more signs, and we went, okay, all right, let's get this our kid screened. It's not a severe thing, and I think for a lot of people, severe cases are, you hear stories. It's very difficult, and my heart goes out to those parents. But one of the things that's helping us right now, I think at least, is that everyone kind of started talking to us about early intervention, and we really took it to heart, and we started working on it. So it means we do spend a lot of money on his therapy, and now he's going to nursery. Yeah, in 3 months, he's going to join other kids, go to nursery, and have that experience. And I'm really like super proud. He had his orientation day, and on the day he went in and he played around, and he sat next to a kid, and he helped him with with this alphabet puzzle. You know when you put the letters through a block and push it through. So that was really encouraging. And I think while, look, firstly, it can be quite painful. All right, as a parent, you're just hoping in somewhere in the back of your head that he'll snap out of this, or a couple of therapy sessions will fix him up or something. And then luckily I was very lucky to have open chats. I think my wife and I were very mature about having seen it in our circles, with not like a lot of people, but enough to kind of go, okay, you got to recognize it for what it is. And so, and a lot of friends and family came forth and said, okay, talk to this person, talk to that. So we really got a lot of help. And even though that doesn't make it easier emotionally, it really helped us make the correct choices, and we push forward with stuff. I get hearing all these stories all the time from other people where one of the parents, particularly the dads, at times, who are kind of like in denial about it, and they think, yeah, no, he's fine, she is fine. They just they got their own shit going, and they'll go to school and they'll be fine. And I feel really bad for those kids because one of the things, man, this is like a whole serious topic I'm going into, unlike my other stuff. Yeah, one of the things that really is something you can't take back is the opportunity to do early intervention. Okay, the quicker you get into it, the quicker you provide support to your child, the better. All right, when there's a certain age, and when they cross that, it becomes harder. I've heard horror stories after that. Right, some kids will have lost any opportunity to become not verbal, from nonverbal to verbal. A lot of times, because they haven't been supported, they don't know how to communicate, and so they get really violent. They'll get bad habits. They might do stuff like chew the sofa or something out of frustration, and it just becomes more and more difficult for that kid. So parents, you gotta put your ego aside. When you see any signs, you reach out for help. Okay, and whether you like it or not. You trust the person assessing. Hey, do 10 if you can afford it, but they're expensive. All right. So I'll tell you that much. So reach out to friends who can kind of maybe give you a free option, but they have experience in this stuff. All right. Don't try crazy stuff give them proper help. Okay? Just go out there and really just find out the answer and then accept it. It's not easy. And, you kind of, as a parent, for those of you who haven't been around special needs kids, it's a whole and you may not have your own, but some of us might have seen it with our within our family or friend circle or whatever, right? Some sort of experience. But I got to tell you, as a parent, right, you have to recalibrate every single thing in your head about your expectations, about your relationship, not just with him, but with your spouse and everybody around, okay? Because people won't get it. Sometimes I say no to things because I got to spend time with my child. I want to be there during this early time, and so I cut down on a lot of social things. I make I do a lot of last minute cancellations because my life really does revolve around him as much as I can. Now with the therapy, he's got into a good routine, and it's helping. So my life's in better control as well. Before we did that, right? This is another thing. This again, if you know anyone, please pass this information on. You're not equipped. Already parenting is hard. All right? Okay, just trying to raise a kid is not easy. On top of that, these are extra challenges. So if you just break it down to like math or like logic, this is the whole thing. So as it is, raising a child is hard. Raising a kid who needs a bit more attention or special or a different kind of attention, we're not equipped for it. No one is born knowing how to deal with it. And with most kids, you'll be able to kind of understand and do it and get it. It's harder when they have something. I'm specifically, obviously, speaking to my experience with autism, but I've seen it in the family again, and each thing has its own impact. What's my point, man? My point is, you don't know how to deal with it, and if you don't, you're gonna ruin that child further. All right. So if you don't support the kid at this time, you are messing them up. All right. So that's on you. So stop being selfish. Put your ego aside. Put your fears aside. Put your grief aside. You gotta go and act on what needs to be done. All right. And most therapists will give you a nice line. And once you get into it, the beginning is hard again because you're like, oh my God, I got to do this. And will she ever be fixed or something? You learn to just take every day at a time, and every win you celebrate really big. Okay. That's just one of those things you do as a parent. And there are things in the beginning of this year, January, I was like, I don't know if he's ever going to do any of that, but he's been calling, and it's amazing. He's been calling me daddy. He's been calling my wife mommy, and it just feels great. Okay. So you see improvements and you measure them and you go, yes, this is working. And you want to give your kid the best life possible, right? Every parent wants to do that, but you can't do it if you stick around and mope and be in denial. I guess this is part of growing up and just part of being mature. All right. That's one aspect. And then obviously with your spouse, these are difficult times. You got to be there for each other because both of you will have your down times. No matter how well things are going, no matter how quickly your child might be, like learning stuff, there'll be times when you'll have fears, right? Like, will the world be kind to your child? I mean, a lot of those parental fears are normal parental fears. They might be heightened a little bit, but they'll bring any parent down, right? Like even regular kid parents, I guess, if I want to say that, or they'll have their downtimes in parenting. So you have to be there for your spouse, and don't be afraid to reach out to your spouse as well and go, hey, I'm having a bad day. I feel sad about this. Give me your shoulder to cry on. So it's going to be like that, and you got to learn to be just open about it, okay? This is one of the reasons the only reason I've never spoken about it before, for everybody who follows my podcast or, just follows me in general, I just feel I was always like, do I want to put his thing public? Like, it's his life, it's his thing to deal with and put it out there. And I didn't know. I just kind of grappled with it. Generally with kids, you're like, how much do you put out their stuff into the world? How much do you want to reveal? What may be his private? What may be something they want to keep private? I don't know, right? But I also felt I was really moved, and really this is an appeal to people. When I heard cases of parents who were just like, who knew, or at least one of the spouse, and they're struggling because their partner isn't doing it, and that's going to end badly for the child, and that just propelled me to like speak up, man. I think if you notice this in someone else's kid, I know social norms are like, it's hard to talk about it and stuff, and maybe they'll get offended, but you'd still be doing the right thing by saying, hey, I think the kid needs to be screened. Okay, this is a good time. You handle it nicely. You open it up and say, look, however you want to put it. But I think it's one of those moments where you got to go, I got to speak up and hope to get there in time. All right. Time is very essential in this thing. So yeah. Once you kind of go, all right, we're doing this, and we were very lucky. This thing can be really expensive, by the way. Okay, like autistic kids really drain your bank account. All right, I'm signing up for a lot more gigs than I would like to at my age, because I was just like, all right, I gotta pay for this stuff. Therapy ain't cheap. And we're very lucky we found a really good therapist and a good, because we started speaking out. I ran into someone at one of the theaters where I perform, and his son, I could recognize it at this point. So I was like, and he came out, he actually just said it. My kid's autistic, before I even asked, just straight up. And I said, hey, my kid's autistic. I just found out. And so he connected me with good therapists, and that has really helped. That eased a lot of like anxiety about like, where do I look? Who do I find? So that's the power of reaching out to people and going, just help, right? It's just screaming help. You're on an island, and it might feel lonely, and you might think, I'll never escape from this, but you still gotta put that big help sign out, rescue me, SOS kind of thing in whatever way you can. You got to do it. Don't sit on the island thinking, all right, well, this is it. Okay. So I just wanted to be open about this for that reason. I think we need to, this thing about early intervention really hit me hard. And that's why I'm just advocating it. All right. And this is one of those things, no matter who you are in this role with the child, you can't sit on the sidelines, stand in the sidelines and watch this train wreck happen. You gotta at least suggest it. And maybe they'll be angry at that point, but maybe they'll listen eventually. Okay? You'll have done your bit. All right. Cool. Guys, I normally try to keep it light, and this isn't depressing. I personally do have, I love my kid. I wouldn't change him for the world, and I feel very lucky he's in my life, and he's fun, and I learn a lot from just parenting him, and it's a true joy. I've never regretted anything about parenting, except for my holidays. And so, yeah, take it out, tell people, show some love. It's the world can be very cruel. A little bit of love and tenderness and softness won't kill you. Maybe, I don't know, but it's a better way to die than if it does. Okay, you guys take care. I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening. If there was something on this, if you need help with anything I've said, please reach out to me on my Insta at SalmanZQ, or just look up any other. I'm all over the internet on every platform that there is, I guess. Reach out anywhere you want, and I promise I'll talk to you about it. Okay, so take care, goodbye, or as a dog would say, woof.